शिवराजधानी क्षेत्रवासिनी श्रुतजनविश्वासिनी शिवराजधानी क्षेत्रवासिनी श्रुतजनविश्वासिनी.
From the age of about 9 or 10, I started learning from other gurus as well. Primarily Delhi Sri Sundararajan, who has been my guru since 2001 onwards, and since I started learning from him, he used to tour very often to the US, and I used to learn when he came there, and I also used to make trips during my vacations to India to learn from him. But some of the musicians that I used to love listening to in my youth, earlier youth I should say, were Vijay Shiva sir, S. Soumya, Sanjay Subramanyam, T.M. Krishna, and I remember being very inspired by all of their concerts. So I was 11 years old when I met Sundararajan sir, and for about 5-6 years from that point on, he used to regularly come to the US for tours and teaching, and my parents really asked him to devote as much time as he could for me, and he was so gracious to do that. And that period of 5-6 years was, I would say, the most intensive for me in terms of learning and really increasing my exposure to the art, because there are so many things I learned from him that were completely eye-opening at the time, and that's when I really developed as a music student, I would say. And around that time, when I was about 13 years old, about 2 years after that is when I performed for the first time, a very informal setting at a common friend's house. And from then on, I would say my learning was always for art's sake, but when I started performing, I happened to get a good reception from our family friends, and so I loved performing too. So that's when I developed an interest for performing, and my training kind of coincided with that. So I kind of blossomed as somewhat of a musician. The thing is, of course, music was a big part of my life, and I knew that if I moved to India, that I could pursue music on a better level, since obviously the exposure and things are more here, more musicians, and I could learn a lot, and etc. etc. But the fact is, when I was 9 years old and I came for my actually Brahma Upadesam, that ceremony, that's why we came to India at that time. It was quite a long trip. It was about 3 months, and I remember completely falling in love with this place, Chennai. And I didn't have the mind to go back at all. And since then, it was just fixated that I wanted to live in India and come back to Chennai and live here. Kind of independent of music, whether music was there or not, I knew that I wanted to live in India. Kind of a strange thing. I don't have any reasons for that or anything. But so it was understood that after I finished my education, I would move back to India. There was never any discussion about what I would do, where I would be, what job I would pursue, nothing like that. I was just going to be in India. And simultaneously, because my music was also developing, during my school days and college days, I used to come every summer to learn. And after I started performing, also in December and during the season time, when I was performing too. So in all, I was spending about 4 months of my year here, even during my school and college days. So when I moved here, there was no adjustment period or anything. It was just an extended trip for me, just a one-way ticket. And my parents, I was lucky to have parents that were extremely supportive of me. So my actual debut in Chennai happened in 2003. In 2003, January was when I sang my first concert, like I mentioned, in my hometown. That same year in the summer when I had come for learning, there's another musician, a young musician called K.P. Nandini, who's a vocalist and violinist. Her mother was, I think she heard me sing somewhere, or I don't remember exactly the details, but she she had a few known people who were running some, organizations that encourage young talent. One of them was the VDS Arts Academy that's here in Chennai, and that was my first performance in Chennai the same year, I think June or July of that year. I would like to say that when I moved to India in 2011 after finishing my degree, I really didn't come with the intention of pursuing this as a full-time profession. I just came here to be here and pursue music however I could. In fact, the reason that I even studied something related to computer science was because I could come here and get a job. I had no interest in science or anything like that. Actually, humanities would have been my preferred choice of studies. But so I was looking for jobs, and I got a couple of offers. I went for interviews, I got some offers, and when it came time to make a decision about where to work and what offer to accept, it just happened that I had a few good breaks in my concert, in the concert realm, and my schedule picked up. I was traveling, I was singing a lot, so I had no time to, I couldn't pursue a job. So that is when I decided, I didn't decide, the path was laid out before me that I should take music. I was fortunate enough that, it sounds a little dreamy, but music kind of told me that this is what I'm supposed to do. And believe it or not, when I was 14 years old, I remember my guru, he was not my guru at that time, Sriram Kumar sir. He had come on tour with Ramakrishnan, and they happened to stay at my house for a day or so. And he was just casually asking me, like, what are you doing, what are you learning, and things like that. I told him, and he said, so what do you plan to do? I think he meant education-wise what I meant to do, but I said, I want to become a musician. At that age, like 14, I was kind of over-enthusiastic, I guess. And he said, at that point, he said, you should just focus on learning music for music's sake. Just do it because you love it. Taking it as a full-time profession or pursuing it as your life's work or whatever is not something that you decide. It either happens to you or it doesn't happen to you. That's what happened to me, he said. And at that time, I remember hearing this, kind of brushing him off, and I don't care what anybody says, I'm just going to move to India and this is what I'm going to do. But magically, I don't know any other word for it. That's what happened to me. Whatever he said is what happened. And I was so fortunate, and even more fortunately, from 2010 or so onwards, he was gracious enough to take me as his disciple. And that is, like I mentioned, how meeting Sundararajan sir and learning from him was one turning point in my musical life and my musical journey. The other turning point was meeting Sriram Kumar sir and becoming a student.